Welcome, dogs chasing cars, to Geek Salad's Retro Movie Reviews. From the Geek Salad Podcast, I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And today we are talking about the 2008 superhero boundary-breaking comic book movie, The Dark Knight.
It's more like a detective crime drama with comic book characters in it.
Exactly. It is, honestly, it's amazing that this movie starts a discussion when it is in fact the sequel to another movie, a very good movie.
Oh yeah. There are many instances where I actually prefer the Batman Begins over this one.
Yeah, there's a lot about this movie I absolutely adore, which we will get into. Interesting note about this movie before we really get into it. This movie was one of the first topics of conversation on our very first episode of Geek Salad.
You're right.
When it was breaking boundaries and making all that cash.
Which goes to show you exactly how long this podcast has been going on.
11 years. 11 years, man. So, let's start. You did see this in the movie theater, right?
No. Yeah, of course I did.
Yeah. Did you go opening night, or did you have to be like me and wait?
I don't recall, actually. I think I did see it opening night, though.
Okay. I remember seeing it, like, I had to wait for a couple of reasons. One, my daughter was still a newborn.
Yeah.
So, the two of us, my wife and I, getting out of the house was very difficult. And we essentially had it all planned out. We were going to go to the premium cinema in Framingham, where, dinner and a movie.
Right.
And we were going to watch it that way. But we had to wait about 2 weeks for tickets. So when the tickets, we finally got our tickets. So I ended up waiting for 2 weeks. And fortunately, spoilers on the internet weren't huge.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have to.
Time, no.
Right, exactly. So I didn't really have to do a lot of like ducking and weaving, because it's my own goddamn fault that I missed I missed the movie on opening weekend and had the temerity to wait.
It wasn't really your fault.
No, it wasn't my fault. But then again, it was also 2008. We didn't have that many premium theaters that we could just sit down and drink a beer and just enjoy our movie. I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, yes, this movie is groundbreaking.
Yes.
Quite honestly, in my opinion, the best Batman movie.
Hands down for me, yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say, I would actually go as far as call this a film.
Yes, yeah. In the words of Martin Scorsese yesterday, this is not a comic book movie, because comic book movies are not cinema. The Dark Knight is, however, cinema.
Yeah, I've seen some of his films. He's a great filmmaker, but
the man is a genius. He is one of my top 3 favorite directors. We're gonna push this conversation. We're gonna push it to the end, because I do want to talk about this movie. It's kind of weird we haven't talked about this one yet, especially because we decided to do it this week.
Yeah.
Primarily for another quite obvious reason. But that just means one less week of Halloween movies to discuss. And
neither one of us is huge on horror, so.
Right.
At least I'm not huge on horror.
Neither am I, actually. We're just doing it because it fits the theme.
Yeah.
But this movie is fantastic, and like we were saying earlier, it is kind of a crime that Batman Begins kind of gets shelved, because this one is so good when Batman Begins was so good.
It is to date still in my top 5 favorite origin movies of all time.
Yes. I loved it. I loved how efficiently it used the time. But what I love about The Dark Knight is we just come straight into it.
Yeah.
And we can see a Gotham City under the effect of the watchful eye of Batman.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting. It's a very interesting take because I mean, if you think about something like Batman Returns, which I love, I adore Batman Returns. Out of the original four, it's my favorite. It just kind of picks up, but there's not like this overwhelming doom and gloom on the city the way that, in the beginning of this movie, two guys look up and they see the bat signal and they're like, "Nah, man, not tonight."
Yeah, I mean, from where Batman begins was where the city was just going downhill, it was just falling apart. It's kind of amazing to see the kind of transition. Just exactly how long after Batman Begins does this movie take place?
I want to say 3 years. I do believe that they mentioned it at some point in the movie. I just don't remember when.
Right. Well, but I mean, it's kind of amazing to see exactly how Batman's influence is just kind of like like exactly what the League of Shadows they were trying to destroy the city because they thought it was beyond redemption. This kind of proves that it wasn't going to destroy itself. It needed just a symbol to rally behind, and that symbol was Batman.
Right. And there's a lot of great parts about morality in this movie. There's also a great thing too that there are people trying to help Batman, even though he doesn't want nor does he need the help, because essentially you're just dealing with idiots in hockey pads.
Yeah. I mean, what's the difference between you and me?
What gives you the right? I'm not wearing hockey pads. By the way, this is the introduction of the super gruff Bat voice.
Yeah.
When Batman Begins, he sounded like Joe Bluth.
Yeah.
But in this one, he sounds like he's more like this. So every time now, when I read anything to my son about Batman, I have to do this voice.
Yeah. He went a little over the top with it.
A bit.
Yeah.
What's interesting also when you flash forward to The Dark Knight Rises, when he's talking to Catwoman, he turns around and she's gone, and he's just like, "That's what it feels like." It's like, dude, you're in costume, so you just keep the voice. Bravo, way to keep the character.
Hey, it's a psychosis.
Yeah.
When he's in that costume, he is not Bruce Wayne anymore.
I feel that this movie. All right. I don't want to talk about Heath Ledger just yet because he is going to dominate this conversation. Yeah. But I do feel that I think a lot of people slept on a lot of the performances in this movie. This is quite honestly, I think, Christian Bale's best work.
I wouldn't disagree.
Michael Caine Michael Caine is always fantastic in these. Not so much The Dark Knight Rises, but Dark Knight Rises is problematic without being problematic. It's problematic in a comic book movie type of way and not like in a real world scenario type of way.
Dark Knight Rises in this trilogy is its own animal, and it's just there. It
is definitely there. It is definitely the third movie to comprise a trilogy. But Michael Caine in this movie is so great because you get more insight into Alfred's past in this movie than you did with anything with Michael Goff, with anything that he had done prior, with anything that was it Jack Napier? It wasn't Jack Napier. It was the guy from the 60s.
Charles Napier, I think.
Charles Napier from 66.
Yes.
You got more out of Alfred's backstory in this movie. The fact that he essentially was kind of a soldier for hire for foreign governments, that he was paid to track people down. So he actually did have quite an extensive background, and that story he tells about some people just want to watch the world burn.
Oh, yeah.
Which has sadly turned into a meme about anything. Anything. You're putting gravy on those potato chips, and man, I just want to watch the world burn. Uh, um,
Seriously, don't put gravy on potato chips.
fuck off. I'll do what I want. I'm a grown man. Just watch burn. Maggie Gyllenhaal was such a welcome replacement to Katie Holmes. She really was. And part of it is, I think, in the back of my head, Katie Holmes is always going to be the teenage girl from Dawson's Creek. And that was 20 years ago. And I shouldn't think that way. Maggie Gyllenhaal is a woman, an actual mature woman, who looked like she was. And I feel terrible saying this, but she just, I felt like watching Maggie Gyllenhaal, I felt like I was watching a lawyer, a no-nonsense lawyer who is just awesome. And she is so good in this movie.
Yeah. I really like Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Aaron Eckhart, man. Not enough credit goes to him for how good his Harvey Dent is. Especially when he turns into Two-Face.
I guess this is a spoiler review.
It always is a spoiler review. I'm sorry. Have you not seen The Dark Knight? What tag word did you use to go, I'm going to watch this one? Dude. All right. So the makeup and prosthetics that they used for that character.
Oh, yeah.
Are so good.
Yes. Absolutely.
But you know what the weird thing is? I don't feel like there was wasted potential and that he could have easily carried another movie. He couldn't have.
We'll get into that.
All right.
Or should we tackle it now, or do you want to say it?
Go ahead.
Thing is, I really like Two-Face. He is one of my favorite Batman villains, and I like how they used him in this movie, but at the same time, and I get why he had to be killed off, but at the same time, we got 20 minutes with him, half hour most.
We got a half hour with Two-Face. We had an entire 2.5 hour movie with Harvey Dent.
Oh no, yeah, no, I loved Harvey Dent, but Two-Face, I get why, but that doesn't mean I like it anymore. Because Two-Face, just the idea of Two-Face is a very consequential one for Batman / Bruce Wayne. So I would have really liked for them to explore that a lot more than they actually did.
I agree. I think in the tone of the Nolan verse, forgive me for saying this because it's going to go into the Joker, but it wasn't in the cards for Two-Face to have more than just a supporting villain role. This movie is about, this entire movie series is about bringing things down from the inside, watching the world burn. Harvey Dent, when he becomes Two-Face as an established villain, is realistically he's a gangster with a gimmick. He works great in the animated series. Criminally awful in Batman Forever.
That was the cardinal sin for that movie of that movie for me.
Yeah, I feel that with any exploration of Batman '89, I feel that Billy D. Williams' Two-Face would have been awesome and not in a Batman Lego version.
Yeah.
And who knows? I mean, who knows what is going to happen with the Matt Reeves Batman? Because maybe Two-Face would fit more into that mold if they decide to go that way. Two-Face has already been done twice now.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I get why he had to exist and die in this movie. It made perfectly sense as far as the narrative that they were telling. Just the comic book fan in me and the Two-Face fan in me, I really didn't like how it was pulled off, but I understand why it was pulled off that way.
Understood. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I will not argue with that. And at this point now, we just leave it up to fate and see what happens.
Yeah.
With whatever. Who else am I missing? Gary Oldman.
Yes.
It's always nice to see Gary Oldman not play a creep. And I've always loved his Jim Gordon because of that.
Yeah, I think he has some like really especially in the third act. Because quite frankly, he's not in the second act.
That's true, but it was a clever way of getting him out of the second act.
Yeah, I mean, I'd seen the trailers and I saw scenes with him after that. I still thought they killed him off. They pulled it off so well.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of any other characters before we get to the big guns. I mean, Eric Roberts was going to be Eric Roberts. Okay, you need a mafioso. Here's Eric Roberts. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Watch him die. It's always fun.
Everyone always forgets he's in this movie, but Morgan Freeman.
Oh my God! Why did I forget Morgan Freeman?
Morgan Freeman had his voice was very important in this movie.
Oh, absolutely.
What Lucius Fox stood for and what he believed and had to say was an important message in this movie.
Yes. Well, the fact that he's actually going to be the ethical high ground for
right.
Batman. I don't feel comfortable doing this, Mr. Wayne.
Yeah.
He is so good with that type of role. And just, he's a fun character. Lucius Fox in these movies has always been fun. Maybe not so much in Rises, but then again, there isn't a whole lot fun about Rises. But he is an awful lot of fun in this movie. He's great in Batman Begins.
Oh, yeah.
But there's that scene when they're in China.
Yeah.
In Hong Kong. And he's the one sent to do the business meeting, and he's just so cool about it.
I love the fact that he never comes right out and says that he knows. But it is painfully obvious he knows. He's known since like midway through Batman Begins.
About what?
Bruce Wayne, Batman.
Oh yeah, well no, he was designing suits for him.
Yeah,
of course he knew he was Batman. But speaking of which, that suit. All right, so how long did it take? 2008, 1989. That is 19 years that they finally came up with a suit where the head could turn, and they even brought it up in the movie.
Yeah,
you want to do what now? You want to turn your head? It's like, yes, because every Batman has been like,
dude. When as much as Batman '89 is a fun movie, seeing him try to look up is probably one of the most comical things.
There's that one scene when Vicky Vale's taking pictures. He's like,
"How far back can you bend your back, Keaton?" Why?
I don't know. In like 75 pounds of foam rubber, not a lot. I'm assuming. Oh my God, yeah. So they're all fantastic. I mean, we forget Anthony Michael Hall was in this movie.
Oh, I forgot he was in this movie.
Yeah, and
to be fair, I don't think Anthony Michael Hall has looked like Anthony Michael Hall for at least 20 years.
No, he definitely looks like what Michael Anthony Hall would look like 30 years later.
Yeah.
But there was that great scene, speaking of Morgan Freeman, when that one guy who worked for Wayne Enterprises is like, I might have some information about your boss. So you think that Bruce Wayne dresses up as a bat and beats up criminals, and you want to blackmail him? Great.
I love how he's just like, okay, never mind.
Yeah, he's so good in that movie. He's so good in this. All right, we got to talk about him now.
Yeah,
Heath fucking Ledger,
Oscar award winning,
posthumously Oscar winning, best supporting actor. And again, I stand by my assertion that he was going to win that thing regardless of if he was alive to pick it up.
I would have to see who he was going up against.
We did this about 2 years ago, actually. And it was like Josh Brolin was one of them. there's a bunch of guys in less memorable movies,
Yeah, okay.
and Heath Ledger just left an indelible mark that I think will. I don't think you're gonna beat that because his Joker is so captivating, and he steals every moment.
Yeah, I mean, much like in Batman '89, Batman is kind of a secondary character in his own movie
He is.
because this movie revolves around the Joker.
Right. But unlike Batman '89, Ledger didn't have to chew scenery.
No.
He's there and he dominates the scene. But there's a difference between dominating a scene by barging into a fundraiser and, with his thugs with guns out, just looking at people and like, Harvey. And he's like tossing back champagne, which, by the way, he never actually drinks. He's always passing it over his shoulder.
Oh.
There's a lot of cool little ticks that he does in this movie, but he dominates that scene. You have no choice but to watch him. It's not like he's breaking into a museum to a Prince song and painting up everything and,
right.
doing his dance and all that before, scooting over to Vicky Vale.
Yeah, he doesn't steal the camera. The camera just naturally gravitates towards him.
Because he's so good in this. And the amount of little, like I said, the ticks, every time he talks, he's licking the sides of his lips. Because I'm assuming you've done this. You've had a cut in the inside of your mouth.
Oh yeah,
and your tongue goes to it.
Specifically when you're eating those those ice things in the plastic.
Yeah.
Every time I do that, I feel like that's how the Joker feels.
Yeah. Now imagine having two sewn together wounds on either side of the mouth, and he does that a lot. And it's a cool little bit. The fact too that when he talks to people, gets right up and just like this. And I'd actually read a theory that Joker was originally a military interrogator.
Huh?
Which makes sense. I mean, he's good with multiple types of firearms. He's good with military grade equipment.
Yeah.
He's very good at driving through war zones, and he's great at that. Just the emotional manipulation, and like being able to stare into your soul. And he knows this when he talks to guys. He's talking to that cop, and he's like, I use a knife because when you stab someone, you can tell in that moment whether or not they're a hero or a coward. And it's just like he's just describing this. And it's like, oh my God, this guy has done this, and he knows that's it's built up into his psyche. The
interrogation scene. He's the one locked up. But ever from when he gets imprisoned to when he escapes, every time, like, he is locked up, he is tied up, he's manacled, he's got nothing on him. You can just the way he acts and the way he speaks, he is completely in control that entire situation. There's not a thing that the cops or that Batman is doing that he hasn't planned out.
Yeah. I mean, and you can argue about the perfectness of his plan. Like, everything had to go a very, very, very specific and certain way for it to work. It's just kind of like Javier Bardem in Skyfall. Everything had to work a very specific type of way to make his escape that happen like that.
Right. Well, I mean, there are a number of different ways where that situation can be done in movies. I mean, there's the way of this movie, of Skyfall, of Captain America: the Civil War.
Yeah.
Those, it needed to go just like that, but it does work. It flows. Whereas something like Batman v Superman, Lex Luthor's plan is batshit insane, and there's absolutely no way it should have worked except for a plot convenience playhouse.
Right. Exactly. Which, hey, if it's there, right? And it's just, the way that this movie is shot, and Chris Nolan is an amazing director. Robbed of a Best Director nod for this movie.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is the movie. This and Wall-E were the two movies that were the catalyst for the blockbuster rule, or the 9 movies. And we can thank The Dark Knight for something like Black Panther being nominated.
Yeah.
10 years later. It did take a while. But Christopher Nolan's camera work in this is amazing. The snappy editing are really cool. This is one of my favorite Hans Zimmer scores.
It's up there. It's not my favorite of his, but it is up there.
The use of strings is it's great, because there's always, I mean, whenever you see a character who is battling some kind of like maniacal tendencies, they always bring out what we call the crazy strings. You know, the spider strings.
Yeah.
And
the Joker's theme, how it's just like slightly dissonant.
Yeah. But there's that thing too where it just like, and I if you watch one of the behind the scenes things on the Blu-ray about how the score was created, I mean, it was just like we just ran a bow over one string.
Yeah.
For as long as we could sustain it.
Yeah.
And it works. And there's a lot of that in this movie, a lot of urgency.
Very tension building.
Yes, exactly. And the fact that I love the fact that he's just a regular dude who got messed up. We don't know how he got the scars, which again is all the fucking origin we need.
We get 3 different stories.
We get 3 different stories because guess what? Hashtag Joker.
Hashtag the Joker lies.
Right. He's a man. He is just a man who is brilliant. He obviously knows hand-to-hand combat because he took down Spawn pretty quickly. Michael Jai White.
I didn't remember he was in this movie.
Yes, he was. Because you want to see a magic trick?
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
Michael Jai White.
Yeah. That scene, I still remember how high out of the seat I jumped at that moment.
Yeah. That whole scene of all the gangsters.
He just opens his coats and shows all the grenades with all the strings.
Yeah. But the beauty is that they're all arguing and they stop for 1 second and all you start hearing is his laughter. It's just ha 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 ha. He's not even trying to do like the Jack Nicholson laugh or the Cesar Romero laugh or the Mark Hamill laugh.
Yeah.
He's doing his own thing. He barely laughs in this. There's a lot of like,
And when he does laugh, it's kind of a creepy laugh.
Right. But the whole thing, again, and that's him dominating the scene. It's like, I thought my jokes were bad. And then he talks, so, he's got like the whole thing with the grenade.
Yeah.
And, he's just like, here's my card. And it's actually a Joker card.
Yeah.
And he's just so good. And the fact he's not your typical crime lord, he's not doing it for money.
Dude, he takes
your half.
Yeah, he takes half the money and just sets it on fire. He has no. He
took all the money. He's like, oh, don't worry, I'm just burning my half of it. And it's just like,
he's not doing it for money. He doesn't care about money. He doesn't care about wealth. He has no material desires, basically.
None.
All of his desires, he just wants to watch the world burn.
Yep. There's also that scene too where they're showing the tape of one of those guys who was pretending to be Batman.
Yeah.
To help Batman. And it's just when he's got him strapped out. He's like, look at me, look at me, look at me. I was scared.
Yeah.
A little bit of pee came out.
That's the thing though. He never really shouts.
No.
He barely raises his voice.
No, exactly. And it's it's so great because it seems like watching the world burn is one thing, but taking Batman down to break his own moral code was the other thing.
Yeah.
He was intent. He would have died just solely to prove that Batman will kill somebody.
Mm.
And that whole thing when they're fighting and he's got the what is the name of that? Is that the Bat Cycle or the Bat Wheel or whatever?
Oh.
Bat Pod.
Yes.
The Bat Pod. And he's just spitting at him and Ledger's just like, come on, hit me. And he last minute you just see him like, he just pulls off to the side.
Yeah.
It's such great character building and such great stuff. And it is an absolute shame that we will never see that character again.
Yeah.
Really in any form. And it is absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It really is because he's so good in this.
Oh, dude. The opening of the movie. The bank heist.
Yeah. Oh my God, the bank heist.
It is brilliance upon brilliance of just seeing each of these crooks turn on each other, and you know one of them is the Joker. You don't know which one is the Joker until he finally pulls the mask off.
Right, exactly. And it's such, I mean, just in terms of planning is brilliant in and of itself. Hire a bunch of guys, and once that guy's job is done, kill him.
Yeah. So
he's the one who ends up with all the mom's money. And the fact that is the catalyst for this entire movie.
Yeah.
Is just fantastic. They don't pussyfoot around it. It is literally the first thing that happens in this movie. And oh my God, just him driving Harvey to commit these murders and just finally pushing him.
As long he wants to just find people that he thinks are like the pinnacle of hope and righteousness, and he's got to take them down because he doesn't want any hope for the world.
Yeah, this movie is just so phenomenal, and the fact that you can really stream this pretty much anywhere is awesome.
Nice.
I mean, I have a digital copy of it. I have it on Blu-ray. I have it on DVD.
I have it on Blu-ray, but not the digital copy.
I can't remember if it's on Netflix or HBO Go, but it's so good.
Yeah.
So good. And truly, it's such a great Batman movie. Are you looking to see where it's at?
Well, it's not on Netflix.
Okay, so it's probably on HBO Go then. It's somewhere.
Yeah.
So, yes. So that's The Dark Knight, which is a fantastic movie. As I mentioned before, it's a shame we're not going to get this interpretation of Joker again because I do not like where this has gone. Which brings us to our conversation of the evening. I don't even want to see it now. Like, not even with a movie pass on a matinee do I want to see Joker now.
I understand why they wanted to make it. I don't hold any grudge against them. And I'm sure it's a beautiful movie. I wish Joaquin Phoenix nothing but the best. I have zero desire to see it because I've never wanted to hear the Joker's origin.
Right. I mean, first and foremost, this movie doesn't need to happen. Like I said earlier, the best part about the Joker's origin in The Dark Knight is that there is none.
Yeah.
You want to know how I got these scars? My father was a drunk. My wife was a degenerate gambler. Those are stories that change because he can just make that up to try to build sympathy and then take you down. Knowing how this character, which by the way, friend of the show Dave McLean brought up, saying that if you don't notice what the initial is, Arthur Fleck is Affleck.
Yeah.
You got it. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I just. I know I'm like at a loss for words right now because movie Twitter over the last 48 hours has just been driving me insane. I am happy that I can proudly state, no, I don't want to see this movie. And people are like, okay, that's cool. I want to know where this amazing movie begins completely divorced from Joaquin Phoenix's performance, which I've heard is amazing. The score and the cinematography, which essentially is more just it's a nod to Scorsese's 1970s movies, most specifically Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
But every actual criticism I've heard about the movie is the story goes nowhere.
Yeah. Matt Goldberg from Collider, he wrote that basically it is a beautiful, technically perfect movie that just seems empty inside.
Yeah, Bob Chipman was very similar to that. It's just like the performance is great, but it doesn't have a reason for being. It essentially is, and this might be the cynic in me. It might just be how they decided to tackle this, especially now with the whole we're not making a comic book movie. That they want the luxury of being able to tell a very serious story, a Scorsese-esque story, but they can't do it without dressing it up in the skin of a comic book movie because people will go see that if there's a Marvel or a DC logo in front of it. And that it's a very cynical view that I have about that. And
no, I've thought the same. I mean, it was like if this was like Joaquin Phoenix, so he did the exact same thing in the movie, but he didn't have clown makeup and he wasn't called the Joker. How many people are going to go see this movie versus the Joker movie?
Right.
Maybe I'm sounding cynical as well, but it seems like this movie is I don't want to call it a cash grab because it's obvious they're trying to do some kind of like he seems to be trying to do an actual like film with it, but the decision to make it a Joker movie just seems like it's more financially based than artistically based.
Warner doesn't have a lot to work with anymore. Let's be honest. This movie is going to have an amazing opening weekend, which is happening now. I think
it already made like 13 million.
What's that?
It already made like 13 million on Thursday.
It made 13 million. It'll probably make anywhere from 85 to 90 million dollars. 100 million is not completely off base. It's not going to do 135 million like the Deadpool movies have done.
No.
This isn't Deadpool. This isn't Logan, which also had an enormous first weekend. Off season too. And that's the thing with like Deadpool was an off season movie. Logan was an off season movie. This is an off season movie. Summer's over. So outside of Deadpool 2, which was a summer release, these R-rated comic book movies, sorry, you're a comic book movie, tend to do reasonably well. The R rating ain't going to help. I have a feeling, too, that there's going to be a lot of women that are going to be put off by it, especially if you break it down. And again, I've been told, now this is what I've read, that my initial fears of it being essentially watch the mediocre white man become the protagonist to your movie. I've heard varying things. Either I'm right or I'm wrong. And it depends on where you want, it kind of depends on where you want your overall review of this movie to go. If you don't want to see it, then you can put the blinders on and say it's not happening. But let's break it down. First of all, the Joker's your protagonist. Am I wrong?
protagonist or antagonist.
He is the protagonist of this movie. The movie is named after him. You are following his story. You are supposed to sympathize with his movements. This is not Goodfellas. Goodfellas is about three really shitty human beings. But the thing is that they get into shitty situations that they always seem to get out of. You don't have enough time to feel bad for them. And at the end of the movie, De Niro's in jail for the rest of his life. Ray Liotta is in witness relocation, and Joe Pesci had a bullet shot into his face. The bad guys don't win in that movie. This movie essentially is going to end with Arthur Fleck, the Joker, becoming the clown prince of crime in Gotham City. Only on to bigger and better. Yeah. And I've heard... And again, I'm going mainly with what I have read review-wise. And if you do want to comment about this, please be civil about this conversation. You go, feel free. Go see it. Let me know what you thought about the movie. But the fact that they're using his mental illness is almost like a crutch, if you will. It's just there's a lot there's a lot to work with here that doesn't work, and that's again I'm cribbing Bob Chipman on this because I think between him and the Collider review that you sent me, I think that those are kind of the most concise. I am incredibly interested in seeing what a professional critic who is a woman, a person of color, or a woman of color has to say about this movie, because this movie is just your average white dude's fantasy. To start from nothing and ascend to everything based on your own mental illness and your mediocrity.
Yeah.
And all you need is a gun to get you through it.
Anyway.
Anyway, can I also mention too how I feel like all these new DC movies that are coming out kind of feel like the post Spider-Man Marvel drops from the early aughts?
I'll just say that the trailer for Birds of Prey, which I've been really looking forward to because I love the Birds of Prey. Huntress is actually one of my all-time favorite DC characters.
Yeah.
The trailer, it felt like the Harley Quinn story with some other possible characters involved. Like
they've obviously cast their lot with Margot Robbie.
It seemed like it was Deadpool and X-Force. That kind of situation. You're following Deadpool, but X-Force happens to be somewhere around.
Right, exactly. X-Force, man. X-Force. Isn't that a little derivative? No, it's not. And luck isn't a power, by the way.
Yes, it is.
Speaking of which, Zazie Beetz isn't Joker.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah, as like the sole black character with more than 3 lines of dialogue. Oh, and another thing. Let's just say fuck you, Todd Phillips. You can't punch. You've heard what the director of Joker.
Yeah.
I had to move away from comedies because you can't do comedy anymore. No, you can't punch down anymore without getting called out on it. There's a huge difference. Because it's funny. Comedy's dead, huh? I've been watching The Good Place, a show that came out 3 years ago, and I'm laughing my ass off. I love that show. I really do.
You and John, actually. John loves that show.
Have you watched it?
I've seen clips, actually, but not the whole thing. Although I do know the big season 1 twist, though.
Okay, but jump on the train to The Medium Place, man. It's so awesome. It
Medium
really
Place?
is. I watch it out of curiosity, and I'm like, oh, I'm fucking hooked. But these DC movies now, it's like you can choose to be part of the universe or not, or maybe you are, but you aren't. It's confusing as shit.
Although I will say, I do love Shazam.
Shazam is a great movie.
I really love
Shazam is an awful lot of fun. But Shazam has also worked into the DCEU.
Yeah.
Tangentially, they have like that one bit that's like, oh, here's Superman. Can't see him. He's got a mustache. But but there's
Anyway.
no fun in having that connected universe, especially because you've read the comics. I've read the comic books. There's a lot of people who've read the comic books. Most people haven't read the comic books. Most people need to figure out, how does this make sense? And if we talk about the Joaquin Phoenix Joker in relation to everything, Todd Phillips specifically said he made the movie in the 80s so he wouldn't be part of the DCEU. Which is like, okay, great then. So you've wasted our time, because now eventually we'll get a Joker in the Pattinson, right? Right?
Probably, actually, yeah.
And it won't be Joaquin Phoenix. It'll be someone else. Thanks for wasting our time.
Yeah. It'll be Jared Leto.
Yeah, I know. And if they just, oh God, no. No. No, that can't happen. It just can't. So, yeah, hey, but The Dark Knight's awesome, right, Mike?
Oh, Dark Knight is incredible.
I love The Dark Knight. I really do.
This is actually one of my very first Blu-rays.
Really?
Yeah, I got this. My dad got me the PS4 for Christmas one year, and it came with this.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I do love that movie.
Oh yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on The Dark Knight? What are your thoughts on the Joker? Are you going to see it? If so, let us know. But please, again, let's keep this conversation civil, man.
Yeah, just let us know if you thought it was a good movie or a bad movie.
Yes. And give me a reason why I should see it. Okay? I'm already aware of Joaquin Phoenix's performance. Trust me, dudes. I've missed a lot of great movies that have great performances in them. You need to sell me on more than that. So please leave a civil comment below. Don't forget to like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We offer new content pretty much every week between the retro reviews and between our podcast that we host called Geek Salad, which you can get here. You can also get it at geeksalad.podbean.com. You can also check us out wherever you get your podcasts. So that would be Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and Google Music. And you can also follow us on the socials on Twitter at Geek Salad Radio and on Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast. Mike, am I forgetting anything?
Nah, probably not.
Yeah, probably not. If I did, it's just got to be another rant.
Just go back and watch one of our previous movies and movie reviews and see what he says.
Yeah.
See if it matches up. If it matches up, you didn't miss anything.
Right, exactly.
Wow. Whew.
What happened?
And I'm like,
go forth, Amy Nurful. We'll talk to you later.
Okay. And